What's going on, DZ team? It's Z here. Welcome back to another video. I know it's been a little while since I posted a video. We've got a lot of projects going on right now, but without further ado, today's video we're going to be talking about becoming a firearms instructor for those that may want to be a firearms instructor, and some things that I've learned along the way, and those that are also current instructors, and some things that I've noticed being in the game for about 4 years now, teaching this as a younger instructor, if you will. So without further ado, let's get right into this video. Alright everybody, so welcome to today's video. Once again, my name is Jacob Zamora. I am the founder and owner of Dropzone Tactical Firearms Training Academy, where we teach self-protection with firearms from all levels, from beginner to experienced. I spent some time in the military. If you're new here, as a field artillery paratrooper deployed to Afghanistan in 2017, done some private security training, not just private security training, but private security work outside of the military, coming into civilian life, and then trained some law enforcement, civilians, and military personnel for about 4 years now. So if you want to be a firearms instructor, how do we begin that process? So to begin that process, you need to get an accredited organization to give you an instructor certification. So whether it be NRA, USCCA, I think Tactical Hive is now doing that. I don't know as far as their accreditation goes, but I went through the NRA originally to get my instructor certifications. Now they have different disciplines like rifle, pistol, concealed carry, you name it. They're different categories for different disciplines and different weapon platforms. So think about which ones you want to do in the beginning. You're going to have to pay a fee. Typically they're about $300 per class, give or take, and you basically go a teach the teacher class. So they go over an elongated course, which at least in my experience, it's an elongated course that allows you to learn how to speak to students, learn how to present a little bit. And it doesn't go into super nitty-gritty depending on your instructor, but they basically say, hey, spend a little bit of time on this, choose your word selection a little bit differently, and based off the organization that you're going through. Now, once you complete that, typically you have to do a shooting qualification of some sort and prove that you can shoot at least somewhat, right? Now, just because you go through a certification like this and you get a little certificate at the end does not necessarily mean you're a top tier high quality instructor, though a lot of people like to stop their education right there unless you decide to become a state regulated licensed to carry instructor as well, which you also need an accreditation. So for example, if you want to go through NRA or USCCA, you need a licensed to carry class to them, and then you need to go through your state if that applies to you to get certified through the state, which is what I did. So we got all these certifications, right? That is the initial process. So you're probably looking at spending, depending on your disciplines, about $300 a pop per class. And then if you go through your state regulated course, that just kind of depends on their fee, plus travel and all that stuff, and then ammo and gear. Now what I would recommend as an instructor is, if you're going to get into this, a lot of people told me when I started that you're not going to be a millionaire out of this, you're not going to make a lot of money out of this. And I looked at a lot of other businesses, right? And then you tend to see that other businesses don't really tell you that as much, unless you're, when you're a business owner, at least when you're trying to dive into a new industry. But the firearms industry is different, right? I got a lot of people telling me, hey, I take 2 jobs out of this and stuff like that. Now I just do training alone. I don't sell firearms or ammo and things like that. But I ask the question, why is that? Why is it our industry that does that? Now I'm speaking to instructors and other business owners. Is it a lack of creativity? Is it the business structure and how we're doing that? So a lot of things that I've noticed as an instructor for 4 years, taking classes from others, looking at other businesses and speaking to other business owners, when we look at firearms classes in general, why is it that it's a one and done class for most of us? Why is it, let's get as many people as we can at the lowest dollar price possible and just get quantity rather than quality? One thing that I know of when dealing with firearms and life or death, and we're teaching people that, shouldn't be the lowest dollar. it should be probably one of the highest, because now we're risking our lives to go out there with new shooters that we haven't shot before, and it's not uncommon for people to go out of shooting range to unfortunately punch their ticket, right? You never know the person's mental state. So I'm gonna give you a little business insight to what Dropzone Tactical does, and what we've developed over the years is, without going into super detail, is basically interview everybody that wants to come in. We ask questions. Hey, why do you want to take firearms training? Right? We get to know the other individual to build that relationship. The next thing that I've noticed that's a real big key to people is being honest with them, right? Not just making it a cookie cutter class and making it a smaller group, so we can take that time to individualize people and to learn their skills, right? People like to feel like they're spending their money to get to know you as an instructor. So think of yourself, instructors, as a personal trainer. Right? If you think of yourself as a personal trainer, that's kind of what we are in the firearm space. So why is it a one and done class rather than trying to get them to come back through an upsell of another class? Why can't we structure our courses the same way a martial arts studio does and make it a progressive structure? Most of our industry is a one and done class. You take a pistol class and you're off to the races, or some instructors don't even care about continued education to learn other skills that they don't have disciplines in. A lot of people in the industry, at least that I've seen so far, they stop at one piece of education and they don't continue to grow more. I think we're failing our students and our business, to be honest, because now we're limiting ourselves to what we can and cannot teach. We don't update ourselves on what's modern shooting techniques or modern weapon systems, and we're not open-minded. We're like, hey, you need to do this and cookie cutter, and I get it. Sometimes in this industry, students can make it very hard as an instructor to keep that high energy level when you get questions that should be common sense and you deal with that constantly. It can be taxing, but when you're doing it by yourself, you have to kind of reset yourself and remember who we are and what we're doing it for, right? The knowledge necessarily isn't for us if we're experienced shooters that we're portraying to somebody else, right? We know the knowledge already and we're trying to build the gap between them, but everybody starts from a different place, right? So when everybody starts from a different place, you have to understand where they're coming from, that this is a foreign language to them. So now it's like teaching a language class, teaching English slang to somebody that is not from here, and trying to tell them what it means and how it logically breaks down and makes sense. It's a longer process, and I tell my students all the time, because my classes are about 3 to 4 hours depending on the class. Hey, I can't make you a master at this one skill in 4 hours, but my goal is to give you the tools necessary to be able to have those skills so that when you do utilize them or when you do practice them, it can make you a master. So I give you the foundation, the tools, but it's up to you to continue that education, whether you come back to me and you have an instructor evaluate you, or you learn the skills, master, understand the fundamentals of what I'm trying to teach you and the main points, and then doing that training by yourself, right? I also tell students that 90% of your training can be done at home. When I was starting my fitness journey, my firearms journey, a lot of it came from just training at home with training guns or whatever, doing dry fire drills. That's where most of my training came from, and I'm a pretty good shooter. On the range, right? The only thing that you manage there is recoil management and the auditory part if you're fearful of the noise. So, but as we know, as instructors or people that have shot before, it's not that bad unless you're shooting a 50 caliber or something that you physically don't have the strength to muscle, right? So it's just a matter of bridging the gap. So, being an instructor, we need to think about a lot of things. We need to think about, being intentional with people, caring about their well-being, being honest with them, being like, hey, look, I know you passed the license to carry class, and in Texas it's a 175 to pass, and if you get a 175 minimum, and you have some shots that miss the target, just because you passed, I'm going to tell you if I see shots or, missed rounds, because typically that's the case. Hey, you passed, barely, and I highly recommend you don't carry your firearm until you get more training, because rounds that you have missed, they go unaccounted for, right? There's one thing that I heard from a continued education class as an RSO and stuff like that. They said the license to carry class, and this is specifically talking to Texas, and I completely agree with this, is an educations class and not a skills class. And that resonated with me, because now we're categorizing what's a skill class and what's an education class, and I love how that was presented. And so and it's true, in Texas the license to carry class is not really a skills class, but it's more learning the laws class. And so then how do we get around that, right? I'm sure most of you guys that are licensed to carry instructors in Texas, I can't speak for any other states, but in Texas, whether you're selling at a lower price or higher price, that people come with the intention or the mindset of, I'm just going to get this, carry a gun, and never train again. I just want to be able to have a card that says I'm legally able to carry a firearm for extra defense or whatever when I go to court, if I ever go to court, kind of thing. Almost like getting car insurance, right? But there's a lot of values that go into that, which is I've never shot a gun before, right? So I've been an RSO plenty of times. I've done large LTC classes in a public space to help other instructors and other businesses, and I can't tell you how many safety violations students have that are from all different backgrounds: military, law enforcement, retired military and law enforcement, combat veterans, civilians, hunters, you name it, it's there. Every safety violation at one point in time, for the most part, was pretty much broken. Flagging, finger on the trigger when it's not supposed to be, you name it, man, it's almost there. So for me, I always wear plate carriers. And another thing as an instructor and becoming an instructor, get the proper gear. Don't get a boo-boo kit like band-aids and just stuff. That's great to have, right? But also stop the bleed kit and learn how to use those skills. Don't just get the kit, because if something does happen on the range and you're negligent to it and something bad happens on there, you need to be able to handle that situation confidently and appropriately. So I think I might do a series around this, because there's a lot to talk about as being an instructor and becoming an instructor. But in closing here, right, I'm going to recap some of the points here. If you want to become an instructor, remember to get certified by an accredited firearms association. Depending on your state, if you want to be a licensed to carry instructor or concealed carry instructor, depending on what your state labels it, you might need to go through their state. You're looking about spending $300 a pop, and then your state, whatever their fees are, and then your application fees, and then renewing that every couple of years, every year, depending on your state as well, and your organization that you go through. And then once you become an instructor, learning how to develop a plan that doesn't make it a one-and-done class, because most students need more than one class. They need to be able to come back and have that. The next thing that I didn't mention is finding a place to shoot. A lot of instructors don't have their own range or brick and mortar. It's a lucrative business that's kind of hard to keep up, because now we're pitching firearms when people can go and buy groceries, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, firearms is less appealing to most people because they don't understand the why yet, or the message behind it, or its value, until we as instructors show them that value. And we got to be upfront and clear and honest with them. And that's another thing, being honest with students and setting the preface before each class. Hey, this is who we are, this is what we do, and I'm telling you, and I'm doing a little bit of tough love because I care about your life and I care about you as a student, kind of thing. Next, becoming an instructor, right? Learning how to format that and combating the industry. My camera overheated, so I had to come to a cooler area and restart the system so I can film it. But in closing, right, to combat the industry standard and to ensure that we're doing our job as instructors to provide the highest quality. And as an instructor, never stop trying to update yourself and be knowledgeable, because people are coming to you as a subject matter expert. But with all that being said, thank you for watching this video. Hopefully it helped you. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can leave them down in the comments. I'll do my best with my knowledge to go and answer those for you. But if you want to be an instructor, go and get that done. Just make sure we're giving the highest quality instruction to people, because it's people's lives on the line, and we shouldn't take that for granted, and make sure that we're giving them the highest quality training possible. But again, share with anybody you think will benefit from it. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see y'all in the next video.